Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to do like a mini little video lesson here, and then you're going to take a small quiz just to double check that you are staying up on your graphing stuff. And I have something kind of formal to put into the grade book, and then you're going to do a little bit of homework on what honestly should be pretty straightforward. It's going to refresh us on the slope formula that we used for a day or two last week. And then we're going to use the point slope formula that we got pretty good at toward the end of last week. So, so I'll post these filled out notes. You don't have to take any notes during this, but you should just kind of absorb and figure out what sections you need. But the good news is you have both of these formulas, and you've seen both of these. Before, so it's not honestly anything really new today. You're just going to kind of put these two things together. So the first thing we're going to do, well, what this is. So let me tell you in general what this is. So I think one of the hardest ways that we can give you a line that you will need to both graph and write the equation of is when we just give you 2 points. So before we gave you the point and the slope, and we got the point slope formula. But now what happens if they just give us two points instead of giving us point in the slope? Well, we got to go find that slope ourselves. We used this to find that slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if you remember, each point goes x, y, which means that every point we have, well, we're going to use these as x, y, and we need to make sure that they're in this order. So x1 is negative 3 right here, and y1 is 7. x1 is positive 1 right here, y1 is negative 1. So those are where we're going to get our, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You'll grab each of those. You'll need to use this formula. So for instance, what they did is I like to label these. This is, like I said, x1, kind of hard to label from these, and it's in black, but x2, this is my second point, so this is x2, y2. So this is essentially all they're doing is they're taking and they're saying, well, they're starting with y2. Well, that was negative 1 minus 7, y1, negative 1 minus 7, and then 1 minus negative 3. So remember, they're switching this to a positive right here, minus negative 3. Please be careful. That's definitely where people are going to make some mistakes in these. You're going to say 1 minus negative 3 or plus 3 in here. Be careful when you're switching these signs. Minus a negative becomes a positive. Also, be careful when you're actually doing the math part of it. Negative 1 minus 7 is negative 8. These are both negative. They combine to be an even bigger negative. Right? Be careful with these, just like negative and negative is a bigger negative, positive is a bigger positive. Be careful with, like I said, those signs. That's where you're going to make mistakes, and that's where we're going to run into some issues. So you're going to use these. Once again, x1, y1, x2, y2. If we did negative 4, y2 minus the other y, negative 7. Well, minus negative 7 becomes positive 7. And then 3 minus negative 6 plus 6. Make sure you're reducing fractions. Your fractions should be like this, negative or 1/3, not 3/9. We don't like that. We need to get that into its base numbers there. So make sure you're doing that as you go through. And then once we have this, so this is just my slope. This is just my m, right? So what that does for us is now we have our point slope formula up here. We have both a point, well, either of these. Eraser, clear all this. So now that we have our slope, this is m. Well, all we needed for this was an m and then a point, an x1 and a y1. Well, we already labeled these x1, y1. We already labeled this guy right here x1, y1, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take our slope for m, we're going to take our point, negative 3, 7, and we're going to plug it into this formula that we've already used last week, right? Okay, so when we're plugging this into our points, we're taking m and our points x1 and y1. Y minus 7 equals negative 2 times x minus -3 or plus 3. You can stop here. You do not need to do this part because remember, we don't need to solve. We can graph without that. We know how to graph with a point and a slope. We don't have to use all this. So that's just extra. That should save you some time. But to recap in general, you're going to say you're going to use the point y2 minus y1, flip it if it's negative, over x2 for minus x1, 2. Reduce your slope if you need to. Plug it into the formula y minus -1 equals m times m is your slope times x minus x1, which was 2 here. So it's two things that you've already done before. You're just going to kind of put them together. So you're going to take a little quiz on the graphing section. You're going to do about 10 of these where you find the slope, and then you use the slope and the point that you already had to put it into an equation for the line. So yeah, hope that makes sense. I may be around for a question or two in the morning, but should be pretty fairly independent. Take the quiz first, and then go do your homework. Try and use these two formulas and take a peek at the guided notes if you need to. Good luck and have a great day. Thanks.